One here. All right, this is Dave Gagnon, and this is March 7th. This is our Gagnon Revenue Share expansion team meeting, and I'm doing my best to give this a recording here today. I'm not on my usual system. I'm still out doing the Rock the Comma tour, so I'm trying to do this on just one screen, which is not how I usually do it. So I'm doing my best. But let me just share a little bit and then I'll open it up. I always count on you guys for this session to, give you what you need to grow your revenue share group. And it's different all across the country, right? Some areas, we're just absolutely, attacking Remax or KW or the independents or whatever. And other parts of the country, there might be, strong leadership or, different things. So I like driving everyone to this once a week to be able to ask those questions. One of the most prevalent themes asked to me over the last week or so has been around Keller Williams and Gary Keller's vision speech, and the fact that he referenced us 12 times during the speech, and what does the vision of KW mean for us in our competitive conversations and those kind of things. So I'm not going to do a 1 hour rant. I'm happy to answer questions here, give my personal viewpoint and how those conversations have been going with me, with the KW folks that I'm in contact with, and really try to help you guys with that stuff. So I'm prepared to talk about that as well as any other topic that'll help you guys grow. If the recording goes well, I'll post it up on my personal YouTube channel and share it in our private Facebook group, and happy for everyone to get to it then. But if you want to ask live questions, this is the place to do it. So let me open it up and have you guys ask the questions, and I'll give the best answers I can.
Hey Dave, Jeff.
Hey Jeff.
I've been getting a lot of objections regarding our model, and that our model is not sustainable if the market turns.
Mm-hmm.
And how are you responding to that?
Well, so first of all, if someone throws something out like that, it sounds to me, Jeff, like someone saying that like it's factual. And my first question is, what facts are they basing that statement on? And the reality of it is they're not basing it on any facts at all. That's what someone told them, right? So that's what their team leader or their broker owner has told them, trying to get them to not talk to us, right? So, typically, and if you don't mind, let's role play it where I'm talking to you, you give me the objection and give me the follow-ups that you've been getting, and let's just role play it. Make sense?
Absolutely.
All right. So Jeff, thank you so much for taking a look at the model, and I'd like to take the next step with you and get your application in on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being you're ready. Where would you place yourself?
I probably place my, as a 6. I really like the program. I see the program, but we're getting a lot of from upper in our brokerage that the model EXP is not sustainable.
Sure. And if it weren't sustainable, that would be a very good concern. Other than that, Jeff, do you have any other issues or concerns that would stop you from moving forward today?
No, that's really our big thing right now. That's what we're hearing from a lot of people. We do have our it's always a little bit of risk coming over to a new brokerage for us, but that a lot of people on the high up in our brokerage is what's really concerning us.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And so just based on what I hear you saying, you're probably not really a 6 out of 10. You're probably a 9 out of 10 with one major concern. Is that fair?
Yeah, definitely a major thing.
Okay. Well, great. So first of all, who is it that you're hearing those concerns from? You said, upper management of your brokerage, right?
I'm hearing it from the higher ups and the leadership at Keller Williams.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so would you expect them to, say how awesome we are and see you go, or would you expect them to do something different?
Oh, nobody wants to see anybody go from their brokerage, so obviously there's going to be objections from.
Sure. Yeah. So their job is to try to get you concerned about something, right? And so have they
Mhm.
provided you with any facts or details as to why it would not be unsustainable?
No, they basically said that well, they have a little bit. Keller, that they're keeping all the company cap is being kept, or the I guess the franchise fee is going to, the franchise fee on the company cap is going to be what sustains uh, downturn, and that EXP is giving away all the money.
Gotcha. Yeah. If EXP was giving away all the money, that'd be a little crazy, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And so if EXP was giving away all the money, there'd be no cash flow.
Hmm.
So let's take a look at the last quarter's 10K and see what the cash flow looks like. Okay. And
You're
then,
breaking up. You're breaking up, Dave. I heard. Take a look at last quarter's 10K.
yeah. So let me pull up the, last quarter's 10K or last year's annual report. And I can't do it here because I'm operating on one screen. But if I pulled it up, it would show positive cash flow. It would show an increase of cash on hand. And so it looks to me like the company's not giving it all away. So that's kind of a crazy statement.
Okay. Well, if you look at the revenue share, then and you add up all the 7 levels, that equals 16,000. So if EXP is only getting 16,000, how is that sustainable that they're giving that overseeing that they're giving it away?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Jeff. So, how detailed have you really looked at our model? Just glancing, or have you really dug into it?
Uh, we're looking into it some. We're trying to understand it more.
Hmm. Yeah. So the way the system works is we do pay through 7 levels, and in order to unlock the big bonus at level 2, the person who is getting paid needs to be at least 5 wide. You understand that?
Yes.
And in order to unlock all the way down to level 7, then the person would have to be 40 wide. You understand that?
Yes.
Okay. So let's say I'm 40 wide and I'm getting paid all the bonuses all the way down my organization. Um, my frontline person would have to also be 40 wide in order to be getting paid 100% of their organization. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And so, in order for the company to be paying out all the money, all of my front line would have to be 40 wide. All of their front line would have to be 40 wide. All of their front line would have to be 40 wide.
Okay.
And so, even if you run that, on a spreadsheet, you would end up with tens or hundreds of thousands of people who are not 40 wide.
Understood. Okay.
Okay. And so
And
and
go
so
ahead.
it,
Go ahead.
yep. And so if you look at our annual report or our 10Ks, what you'll see is the company is currently paying out a little over 50% into revenue share. And the way the model was built was for EXP to be profitable, paying out 75% in revenue share. Okay. The other thing is, eventually, I believe EXP will have other services. For example, mortgage, title, property and casualty, coaching company, those kind of things. The stock that we all own is in the parent company, EXP World Holdings, and there's additional profits to be made on additional core services. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Right? So right now we're just building out the machine.
Okay.
And so if we can make money building the machine, we'll make profits building out the enterprise.
Can I offer something, Dave?
Who is that, Rick? Hey, Rick.
Yeah. Can I offer this as a dialogue as well? So in a typical business model, following the MREA model as well, when you're talking to a Keller Williams person, what is the goal for owner profit? 29%, right? Would you?
Go on,
I don't know
Rick.
if I'm coming through it.
Yep. Go on.
Yeah. So if you're 29%, and then you go down to the full payout on the cap dollars for EXP, what is 5% of 20%? 25%, right? So in essence, the goal MREA model is for a team or a development, whether it's we're market center or it's a team leader, is to earn 25%. We automatically have a 25% built into the very last piece of the puzzle. Now, going backwards, in order for the big explosion of this fee to pay out full 20%, as you were mentioning the 40 wide, it would be almost impossible. So you can almost calculate that there's only a very short amount of people that are getting 25% of the entire 20% of the revenue. So in essence, EXP is basically calculating that amount of money as part of their revenue streams, plus the exponential growth of all the other layers that aren't fully capitalized. So in essence, EXP has a higher than a 25% return on their cap dollar that's being paid directly to the company. And that's when I share that with somebody, is that 25% is being unpaid. I'm like, we're making more money just from that side of things than most market centers are.
Right. The other thing that I would throw in there, and it depends on which market center the individual is from, but I would ask them, what is the profitability of their market center? There are some market centers that are running 25% profit. There are some that are running zero or a negative, and there are some that are only profitable some months out of the year. And so in the Keller Williams model, most market centers are losing money some months. And the only entity that is guaranteed to make money is Gary Keller and KWRI through the royalties, because that's paid off the gross. Everything else in the model is paid off the net. And out of the 900 market centers, they are not equally profitable. They are not profitable in a balanced manner. And if they lose money this month, they have to carry that forward and absorb it into the next month. Right? So the other thing that I would say is, if the concern is a down market, I would go down a couple of different paths. The first would be, how many Keller Williams market centers are there today? I'm going to say there's about 950. The other question I would ask is, what's the number of the latest market center that's been awarded? I think it's 1,300 or something like that. Don't quote me on it. But if it's 1,300 and they number them sequentially, that would mean that they've issued 1,300 franchises and there are only 950 in existence. So what's the failure rate of that? Pretty high failure rate for a model that's supposed to work 100% of the time. Right? When did most of those fail? In the last down market. And so the greatest risk between the two companies is apparently in the KW model, because there is proof of failure, very high proof of failure. In EXP was born in 2009, which was the beginning of a very bad market. That's where our financial model was created, to ensure that we could thrive, which we did, in a down market. Think about this. The average Keller Williams office that I ran had a monthly budget of $25,000 to $35,000 a month, with most of that in bricks and mortar costs and mandatory salaries. You have to have a team leader, you have to have an MCA. And so when the market turns, that number does not go away. At EXP, we pay around $30,000 a month is the last number that I heard officially in total bricks and mortar, and that is for us to operate in a total of 47 states, 3 Canadian provinces, over 200 MLSs, and have about 9,000 agents. If the market turns, who is better prepared? A brokerage that has a total bricks and mortar cost of $30,000 a month, or a franchise system that is carrying a total budget of over $30,000 a month times 900 market centers?
That's a big number.
Right? And it's been proven to fail.
Well, what's the percentage? If they're at number 13 to 900, you got a 30 failure rate.
Right. Right. And so you just, and if I were going back to Aaron on his, or Jeff on our dialogue, I would say, doesn't it make sense that it's more of a fear tactic to get you to not move than one based in facts?
Yeah, so I think it's something that's hard for the average EXP agent when they're confronted to that to just combat really quick. So I think it's I think that's where they're coming from a lot now.
Yeah, well, so here's the reality, and I know we're all very busy, and we have clients to serve, and some of us are going all over the country to support our groups and all that stuff. But we have 20, 28, 30 people in this session today, and I know we'll probably have 100 people watch the video this week, and so that's about 10%, right? And so most people are not getting educated. They're not hearing these conversations. And so when they hear an objection for the first time, they've given it no thought. They have no training on it. And, it's the equivalent of, going out on a listing appointment and not training at all for the question of, I want to overprice my property, or I want you to undercut your commission, or I don't want to be on the MLS, or I don't want a yard sign, or all of the objections that you get when you're on a listing appointment. It's the same thing. Get trained, be prepared, listen to other people who are having good conversations, learn from them, and it just becomes really easy. Hold on one second. I'm in a hotel room today, and my air conditioning unit is going crazy, so I just turned it off. Hopefully not bothering you guys there. Darren, I see your hand is up.
Hey Dave, how are you?
I'm doing great.
I got a call from Keller Williams Marketplace 2 days ago, and they didn't know that I was with KW for 8 years. But the team leader there said something to me on the phone, which I thought was very, very funny. She said to me that she tried to scare me of the fact of Gene Frederick coming over there, and that EXP had given Gene 1 million shares to come over to EXP, and what was going to happen when Gene Fredericks goes and sells all his EXP stock. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was a very, very funny comment for her to say that. And I mean, I can tell you what my response was.
Congratulations, Gene.
Yeah, exactly. Good for Gene. I'm happy for his ownership, and glad he's so vested in now with DXP. But I'm sure, Dave, one person and their stock ownership doesn't define an entire company. So, and the fact is, Gene does now have ownership in a national company, and he didn't have that before. But very interesting to see how they're trying to now scare EXP agents with that.
Yeah, it was actually pretty fun for me. I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before, but I had a conversation with a team leader, and she started very aggressively with me. And that was one of the things that, she threw out. She started with, I've heard a lot of rumors and, I'm really interested. And, but, I'd love to hear what you would say, about what I've heard, and just her tone, I could tell, um, she was digging, and that was one of her things, right? That any one of these people who have a lot of stock can crash the value of the stock and make the entire company worthless and all of that. And so I asked her, I said, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being you're an absolute expert and a 1 being you're an absolute idiot, where would you put yourself on your knowledge of how stocks work? She said, well, probably a 6. I said, okay, that's fair. I'm going to guess, most people would put themselves between a 4 and a 6. And so let me just tell you how things work. If someone was an absolute idiot and they owned stock and they said, I want to sell my stock, right, through their brokerage service, they would say, sell at market. And so if someone had a bid in for $12.50, but they were only willing to buy 1,000 shares at $12.50, then 1,000 shares would transact at $12.50. And if there was no one else who posted any bids at any number, all the way down to someone saying, well, I'll buy 1,000,000 shares at $1, if anyone's dumb enough to sell them, then it would close the day at $1. But only an idiot would sell at market. Someone who knows what they're doing would make a purchase based on a bid, or they would make a sale based on an ask. And so anyone who owns any stock, who understands how stock works, would never dive the company. So, for example, I own a bunch of stock. If I decided that I was going to sell a bunch of it, I would determine what price I was willing to take. I would put it up for sale, and whether it transacted today or over 5 days or over a couple of weeks in order for me to get the price that I wanted, that's where I would leave it. It's the same thing as owning a house. What's the value of the house? Let's say the house is $300,000. What's the average time on market? Let's say it's 90 days. If I can wait the 90 days for my house to sell, and that's the average in the market and everything stays the same, I could expect my house to sell for $300,000. If I said, I'm willing to wait longer, but I'd like $350, and I don't care if it takes a year or so, it's possible it may be worth $350 in the future if it's in an appreciating market. But if I said, I have to sell it today and I have to sell it for cash, it would probably sell for less than $300,000, and I'm sure there's some investor that would pay me something for that house. And just because it's sold for that number doesn't mean the actual value of those types of houses in that neighborhood have changed. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Right. And so as I went through these things with her, she kept getting madder and madder. And after we finished covering stock, she hung up on me. So we didn't even get to talk about revenue share. She had said something like, so that's how you counteract, profit share, which is actual cash, not some promise of stock in the future. I said, no, No, stock is actually equity position in a publicly traded company. The cash that we have is called revenue share instead of profit share, which is paid off of the gross. And she said, paying off of the gross is stupid. No one would ever do it. In fact, Keller Williams proved that it doesn't work. And I said, yep, they proved that they can't pay profit share off of the gross. Um, uh, However, they have also proved that you can pay Gary Keller off of the gross on every transaction. It's called a royalty. All we've done is taken that same money and paid it back out to the people who are building the company, people like you. And I said, how long have you been there? And she told me, and I asked her how many agents she had recruited, and just did some real quick math on bonuses and how they would have worked over the last 5 years had she been here recruiting the same number of people, and she would have $6 million worth of stock. And I asked her, I said, how does that compare to, the equity position that you have today? And she hung up on me.
Dave, you cut out when you said $6 million.
Yeah, had she had been here over the last 5 years, and had she recruited the same number of people that she has recruited for Keller Williams, with the stock awards and the stock appreciation, her equity position here would have been $6 million today. So, and she got frustrated enough that she hung up. And that's too bad, because the reality of it is the average team leader is in their role for 14 to 18 months. It's a burnout position. KW doesn't care about the burnout. And the ones that are there 5 to 8 years, they get burned out because it's not really a time equitable position with everything that a team leader is asked to do. And it's not 40 hours a week. It's not a balanced lifestyle. So even if someone's great at it, even if they love it, 5 to 8 years is another burnout factor there. So, the team leaders that are in your area, be in dialogue with them. And, their job is to be passionate and to defend their brand and to keep their agents and all those kind of things. So don't expect it to be, tight and friendly and loving and all those kind of things. But just let them know if at any point in time their situation changes, we want to be their first phone call, because we are the closest fit to their talents and the greatest financial reward for their abilities. And so when they're done in that role, they should really talk with us. And so, when I talk to, my team leader friends, I'm not trying to talk them out of leaving their, cushy salary and, something they're comfortable with and all that stuff. But when they get burned out or when they get dumped, some of these guys get dumped because they work great contracts. And then when they make their market center profitable, the owners have got to pay them a really big number. And then they get fired, not because of non-performance, but because the payouts are so high. Why would they pay someone $300,000 when they can bring in a replacement for $80,000? Now, you keep the person and you pay them $300,000 because it's the right thing to do. It's the agreement that you made. They performed at a very high level and they're worth it. But most business owners will terminate that person. They'll look at the dollars and cents. They'll get rid of the talent. The talent will come here, and they'll replace their high talent with a lower talent they can pay less. Their agents will not be impressed, and they'll follow the talented person here, and that's happened time and time again. Let's continue with Q&A and dialogue. Always better to open up your mic. Can we talk about Gary's statement that KW is no longer a training company and now is going to be a tech company? Can we talk about that? Anyone have any concerns or questions about that?
Dave, what's your thoughts on where they're going with that overall?
Well, that's a really good question. Gary has not called me and told me his innermost thoughts. So all I can do is listen to his State of the Union and the state of real estate, and listen to what he's saying there, and then look at the statements that he's made about those things. And here's my take on it. So again, this is just a Dave-ism. And so if you look at the industry is moving towards data and away from agents, right? And there are companies that are betting on that. You look at Redfin, how cheap can we provide crappy service, right? And pay agents a small salary and attract crappy agents who know that they're not worth what top agents get paid, right? So there's plenty of companies that are trying to see how cheaply it can be done and cut out the professionals. So we know that there's that pressure. You can either ignore it or you can embrace it. And whether you ignore it or embrace it, it's still going to happen at whatever rate it happens. You can look at how Blockbuster looked at Netflix. You can look at the taxi cab companies of the world and ignoring Lyft and Uber. And if we do nothing, the same things will happen in real estate. And so I'm going to get in my soapbox for a minute. And I'm going to say to everyone here and everyone who listens to this in the future, stop sharing your data. Put it in your MLS, share it with your fellow realtors. But if your MLS has an option to not send it out to the other feeds, don't send it. Sending it to them allows them to use your data to get rid of you. Okay? If your MLS does not give you the option to select to send it to Trulia, Zillow, and the like, then you need to help make changes in your MLS. And if your MLS refuses, because they get paid on sharing your data, you know that, right? And so all of these companies that want IDX feeds, they pay money to your MLS, they pay money to Realtor.com, and your entities that you are forced to put your data into make money off of your data. That's where the data is going. That's the problem in the industry. If your MLS will not give the options to change it, get on the committees, take over your boards, get everyone in EXP elected, and get rid of those MLSs and get services, get vendors who will support you as real estate professionals. That's a movement that we got to see in this country if we want to preserve how we do business. However, and Gary is looking to rail against the entire industry and build a company that's going to compete against all of them. I don't think that's the answer. If you read Inman's article that I shared in our Facebook group, that is not how the industry thinks it can be done. And in that article, they've declared it a death blow to KW. And all of those things. Our model is a great model, puts an awful lot of pressure on the KWs of the world, the Remaxes, traditional brokerages, and it's a shifting mechanic. If the industry continues to shift all the way to data, our role as agents will be minimized. However, my belief is building a company that can support all of the transactions, right? There's great value in that. So we're part of eXp World Holdings, not just eXp Realty. So I think there's really a couple strategies. Be part of building eXp World Holdings. And in doing that, we're building eXp Realty, right? So we get to play on both sides of that. But I think there needs to be a national and international movement to change how our National Association of Realtors shares our data. And I think it's in direct violation of supporting the industry. So, off my soapbox. So, but anyway, so think about Keller Williams for a minute. And I've had this conversation with a bunch of folks in the last couple of days that are at KW. And it made a lot of sense for Gary to say, look, we're not a real estate brokerage. We are a training and consulting company that happens to be in real estate, because their business really was to make money with their coaching program, which is MAPS. And the way they fed that was they put pressure on the team leaders to recruit everybody that they could, right? And put incredible pressure on them to grow, and incredible pressure on them to sell the MAP services, to put everyone through Bold, to put everyone into Family Reunion, and all the other ways that KW International makes money. Now to say that they're not a training and coaching company, that they're a data company, now it changes everything. My question to the brokers are, how does it feel to work for a company that declares publicly that it's not in support of brokerage, and it's now no longer a coaching and training company, it is now a tech company. It's never done tech before, but it has made a 180-degree turn from where it was. From the agent standpoint, tell me how Gary Keller's organization controlling your data benefits you. Tell me. It doesn't. It's a strategy that Gary is leveraging for Gary. Brilliant guy, but tell me how it helps the agent. Tell me how it helps the agent grow their business. So, happy to have those conversations, happy to continue those dialogues in here. That company just came off of their convention. Expect them to be positive, expect them to be pumped up. Listen to what they're saying. If you don't know the answers, say that's a really interesting question. Let me do a little research and I'll get back to you next week. Post them in here. And come into these sessions and we'll dialogue it out. Make sense?
Hey Dave, could you elaborate on maybe the stats on if agents are leaving a KW, what kind of numbers those are looking like right now?
Yeah, so KW has always run at about a 30-35% attrition rate. And every company has attrition. Attrition is calculated by taking the amount of agents we started with, adding in the agents who have joined, looking at the agents who have left, and doing a ratio on that. Right. So if you look at it over the year, weaker companies have maybe a 40-50% attrition rate because they're hiring weaker agents. Stronger companies are in the 30% range. Typical good companies about 25%. When I was the director of growth, I used to track it every month because I had access to all the data. I no longer have access to that data since I resigned from that position. But the last number that I heard was our attrition rate is 10.8%. So a number that I'll throw out there, and this isn't an official number published anywhere, but just in the month of January, I think KW attracted or recruited over 6,000 agents, and they netted less than 1,000. At EXP, we netted about 980, I think. Right, so we are growing at a net rate of about the same as KW did in the month of January. And when you look at the fact that they have about 900 full-time team leaders that have a mandate of 2 recruiting appointments per day, 10 per week, 40 per month, or they get fired, And then many market centers have assistant team leaders who also do recruiting. And then you have 900 owners who are also incentivized to build their brokerages. That's about 2,000 recruiters, paid recruiters at KW, and we have 0 paid recruiters, right? This is a grassroots movement. It's who do you know? Who do you get introduced to? And the model, right? So to have a group of 9,000 people growing at the rate of a company that's 180,000 is mind-boggling. And if you think about where we are, I heard, I did not see it, so don't quote me on it, but I heard yesterday we hit 9,000 in the company. And it was only like 3.5 weeks ago, we're 8,000. We're growing at about 1,000 a month right now. If we do that for the rest of the year, what's this, March? So April, we're probably 11,000 with 8 months to go. So, we end the year at 18, 19, 20,000. I think that's pretty impressive. And what I'll tell you is every single day we're talking to people who are as good as our best people today are. I was just talking to a leader last night who has a phenomenal concept, generates leads all over the country, and can come here and build an extended team across all 50 states and use that in their business model, and then leverage our business model to be able to attract people who wouldn't be interested in joining the team, but they meet through their prospecting and conversations and those kind of things. And so it becomes a way to double dip for people who are in our business, and you're leveraging a platform, right? It's an amazing opportunity. I got to play golf yesterday with Jeff Funk and a candidate that he brought to the event. And this guy's a $30 million heavy hitter, great reputation, as nice a person as you'll ever meet. And once people understand the two huge game changers here, which is revenue share, obviously, but the stock piece is the part that most people overlook. Once they understand that, it's a done deal. Done deal. We're just talking about one of the agents at EXP. Her name's Wendy, and she's been here 3.5 years or so. She's been an Icon agent for 3 years, and she's put 5% of her gross commission into her the stock purchase program since she started. And her total value of the stock she's purchased as well as the awards is $1.2 million. Would you pay a $16,000 cap in order to have that kind of equity position? Yes or no? Right? If people understood it, they would all be here. And so I encourage people to not get sucked into the rhetoric. Do not listen to the reasons why your current broker is going to give you for not going to the competition. Do your own due diligence, right? Don't listen to me either. Do your due diligence. Play the game. What if I was an Icon agent 3 years ago, and what if I got $16,000 worth of stock? What if I was awarded at $1? That means I'd have 16,000 shares. Today it's trading at $12. What would that be worth? It's a big number. What if I was here 2 years ago? What if I was here last year and was trading at $3.79 and I got 4,200 shares and today it's trading over $12? That's $51,000. Just play the game. Just do your homework, right? What if I came here 5 years ago and I recruited 3 people, and then the next year I recruited 1 person? What if 4 years ago I had 11 people in my group, and today it's 827 people? Well, there are people who have done that. right? And so all I know is if someone stays where they are, the opportunity that they have is very understandable. It looks exactly like what they have. And you look over here and it's different. Worst case, try it. Try it for 3 years. If it doesn't float your boat, go back. They'll take you back. And if they don't, they're not the kind of person you want to work with anyway. Right? Every good, productive agent should come here. Questions? All right, got time for one last question before we wrap it up.
Dave,
Yes.
have you heard anything about how all this new technology at KW is going to be funded?
I have no idea. No idea.
That's coming from a place of, do you anticipate that the agents might be expected to pay more for this?
Yeah, I mean, no, thank you for the question, Sally. No, I haven't heard anything or seen anything written that's been done in any other way. The reality of it is they earmark $25 per person for technology, and they have 180,000 people, right? So $25 is $300 per year times 180,000 people. That means it's about $5 million a year that they have for that. That's a lot of money. What I don't want us to lose track of is before last week, they provided to their agents vendor services that manage their data, right? Today, they still use .loop, which is partially owned by Remax, right? So the data is still out there. And Gary saying that now their data is safe because Gary has it is not true, right? Because if that agent leaves, the agent is either taking the data with them or they take it with them and Gary keeps it, right? And so and let's talk about the data. Everyone's data is out there. Can we agree on that? Right? If I'm doing a lookup and I have access to the tax records, I know people's name, address, contact information. I can, if I'm tech savvy, I can cross connect that with Facebook and other social feeds and find out most things on most people. So the data isn't the thing. The thing about the data is we need to stop sharing it with the companies that want to replace you. Stop sharing it with Trulia Zillow. Stop sharing it with IDX feeds that will feed companies like Redfin. Get involved in your boards. Get policies in place that stop doing what current leadership has done. That's the problem in the industry. So, will EXP have all proprietary products? Yes, but we're 9,000 agents. Right? We need more agents. It gives us more tech fee, gives us more of a budget, and we can have all of our own proprietary things too. Remember, Keller Williams is over 35 years old with 180,000 people paying in a tech fee. Right? They're just in a different position. We're growing at a rate far more than they ever did. And in 3 years, I believe we can be as large as KW is. 3 years. So let's keep the main thing the main thing. The main thing is attracting productive agents and attracting leaders who have influence on productive agents. That's the main thing. Do not get sidetracked. Do not listen to the rhetoric. Make sure you're setting aside time every day, an hour a day, lead gen for attraction. Or do 4 or 5 hours a week. Or do 2 or 3 days a month, however you're going to break it down. But if you want to have it grow, you need to focus on it and just have conversations, listen to what's important to them, share your story, share other stories that we share with you in here and on Facebook and in the company sites, and people will come. I just had a guy tell me last night he's doing an application, and he's someone I had been talking to for 2 years. Then he went silent on me. I haven't heard from him in a year. And then he reached out to me, said, "Hey, I'm ready." We spoke again for about an hour and a half, answered his questions, and now he's coming on board. So it's about getting into relationships, getting into dialogue, staying on top of it, and just setting some time aside consistently to help you grow. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for coming in. Thank you for the great questions. I appreciate all of you. My quest, my push is to get my little group to over 1,000 by the end of April. We're growing like crazy. It's still a great shot for that to happen. We got some great leaders who are hosting additional Rock the Comma tours. I posted that on our private Facebook group, and I put the hosts in there. So if you have people in those areas, get them registered. And I'm doing a few more of these. The last one I'm going to do is April 2nd in Phoenix, and then I'm done with Rock the Comma tour for the rest of the year. I'll get back on it next winter. That's my plan, but I'll help you guys grow the way I always have. But anyway, let's keep it going. Do the poll in our Facebook group if you're coming to Vegas, if you would attend a private expansion training on Wednesday afternoon. I'm negotiating the room now, and I need to know how many people I need to fit in that room. And so I'm going to take that number at the end of the day tomorrow, and that's the room size I'm going for. So if you don't respond to it and you want to come and it's sold out, we're just not going to have room for folks. So I don't care if it's 20 people or 200 people, but I need to know that number before I book the room. All right, everyone, thank you so much for coming in, or thanks for watching this video on the private channel, and I'll talk with you guys soon. Let's keep growing. Bye-bye.